Ever wondered what it truly takes to succeed in specific jobs around Signature? Well, you're about to find out. From software engineering to talent acquisition, we're here to spotlight real-life paths to success. Welcome to On the Job With, your window into career pathing and discovering what it takes to excel in roles all around our organization. Your host and Signature Edge producer, Addison, is diving deep into the heart of career exploration and hearing personal experiences from people's journeys to career excellence. You can only know what's possible when you hear what the job really is directly from those getting it done. So, if you're ready to focus on career pathing and discover the steps that led our guests to where they are now, buckle up and tune in to On the Job With.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Job With. I'm your host, Addison Stoddard, and I'm excited to be here today with one of our revenue cycle managers, Tiffany Garfield. Tiffany, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Addison.
Oh, absolutely. You and the revenue cycle team are definitely people I wanted to feature on the show. It's such an integral part of what we do as the company. Just to talk to somebody that has such a wide understanding of the revenue cycle, I think really helps to illustrate how Signature does the work that we do. Tiffany, as a revenue cycle manager, could you explain your job to our listeners?
I currently manage the most amazing team of revenue cycle representatives. We do insurance follow-up and billing. So what our job entails is we review EOBs, we go out to payer portals, we call insurance companies to figure out why insurance hasn't paid on the medical claims. So once we understand why those claims haven't been paid, we work on a resolution. We make decisions on the next steps for the claim, including maybe working with other departments within the hospital, like coding or cash posting, registration, as well as research and appeal with different payers to get those claims paid.
Yeah, what's really funny is you mentioned sort of those different stages of the revenue cycle. Tiffany's been here almost 9 years, correct? At least 8.
Yep.
I was going to say 9 years.
Or 8.5 about, yep.
You probably remember the wheel, Tiffany, we used in marketing materials that had it would alternate between 18 and 24 different services or products we offered. The revenue cycle wheel has a lot of spokes. So you mentioned 5 or 6 of them. It sort of brought back memories to when I was more in my marketing days and had to write to each of these ones specifically. So thank you for the trip down memory lane on that. So you oversee a team as a manager. When beginning your day or your work week, how do you start out? How do you check in with your team? How do you stay connected with all the do-outs and responsibilities that you guys are handling?
Every morning I come in and I'll take a look to see what inventory we have out there that we need to work. We'll go through and have a team huddle twice a week. And in those huddles, we just go over any trends that we're seeing as a group. We discuss opportunity areas, things I could take back to the client so that they can improve business on their side, making it easier on our side. We just have quick huddles and then be prepared to jump right in and work some accounts.
Can you maybe explain a little bit more the people who report to you, what their day looks like?
Yeah, so we have assigned AR that comes from the client. They all have their own work queues that they're responsible for going in and reviewing. Things that we look at that they will be looking at are going to be how old the accounts they have in their work queue are. So we want to make sure that we're working those older accounts so that they don't become timely filing or we miss appeal deadlines. They will go in and work larger balances. The way that they're going to be working these accounts is they'll be reviewing those EOBs that are out there, looking for denials. If there's no denial, they'll check the client portal or make a phone call to the payer to find out why the claim hasn't paid yet.
A lot to manage. You mentioned checking in on metrics. Could you maybe inform our listeners a little bit more about what metrics your team considers important?
So the 2 big ones that we make sure we pay a lot of attention to are going to be productivity. So how many accounts are my staff working on a daily basis? And then the other big one is quality. So as long as you've got your productivity and your quality both strong, then you should have strong revenue and bringing in cash for our clients, all of those types of things to make sure that we are doing what we need to do every day for our client.
Yeah, and 2 pieces tied to that statement as well. is, I've mentioned this previously, last episode actually with Devesto, one of our medical coders, our quality standards at Signature are very high, especially industry-wide. And I think that's something that sets us apart, is we do hold ourselves to a standards of excellence that I think our clients can see and, stick with us through long-term work as well. The other thing, I know it is an industry term of art to say cash, but the revenue coming into hospitals or healthcare systems, this is what helps hire doctors, hire nurses, buy MRI machines, extend clinic hours. So when we say we're getting cash for the client, what we really mean is we're helping hospitals stay open, increase their hours, increase their services, and just be better parts of their community. So cash can be a little blunt, but really what it is it's how the healthcare industry runs. So we're excited to get more cash in the hands of providers. Tiffany, managing your team, checking metrics, all that sort of stuff, how does that help you define success in your role?
So in my role, we look a lot at Signature's mission of improving the health of our clients and making the lives of the people we work with better. So we do define our success by helping our hospitals and clinic claims get paid and overturn denials. We watch for trends and present those to the facilities to close those gaps and eliminate some of those denials up front. Overall, this is going to help increase revenue and reduce costs for both the patients and the facility.
I love that. Back to that tie into what I was just talking about as well. As I said, you've been working with Signature for about 8.5 years, but you've sort of been in this world for a minute. How has this work sort of fit into your sense of self?
I love managing people. I love getting to know them. I love getting to know their stories. So that is really my passion, is working with the people and helping my team to become more efficient and confident with their knowledge and skills. I take a lot of pride in how well they do. Their performance directly relates to my sense of self. If they're successful, then I feel like I'm successful.
That is a very true statement of a leader. When they're successful, you are successful. Moving on from that, how has your understanding of success in this role and others changed over the course of your career?
Yeah, so when I first started with Signature, my idea of success was just whether or not we were bringing the money in. Over the last 8 years, I really do understand the importance of bringing in revenue. However, it's not just as a show me the money type of an attitude. It's more evolved into the impact that our work really has on our clients, their patients, that drives our success of the business.
So just in your time here at Signature, we've seen a lot of change, both in what the company does, the clients we serve, the services we offer, as we talk about that revenue wheel. But time keeps on moving. How do you see the future of your profession evolving? And what steps are you taking to make sure you and your team can handle a changing landscape?
So the facilities are always looking for ways to reduce those administrative costs. What I foresee is more automation in the revenue cycle process through technology and AI. With that automation, it's very important for us to make sure that we understand the different EHR systems and what they're capable of doing, remain educated on procedure and diagnosis changes, add value to our service by working accounts more efficiently. Education and a quality team are going to be key to staying ahead in that market.
It's professional development for the win, for sure. You mentioned EHR, which is something that's come up on the podcast before, but I don't think we've ever delved into it. For the listeners, that stands for electronic health record. Could you tell people at home a little bit more about what an electronic health record is if they're unfamiliar personally?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different EHR systems out there. Two of the big ones are Cerner and Epic. There's a lot of other ones that are available. Those are the two big ones, though. And basically, they have everything from registration to insurance information to when claims were sent, what services were done. It's just the overall way to store patient records.
Yes, I feel like all of that stuff is very key to everything that's going on right now, is making sure that there's a smooth transition from one provider to the next, or like if you receive care at one place, the physician or the nurse practitioner at the next place can access those records as well. So EHR is very key in what we're attempting to do in the healthcare industry when it comes to lowering administration costs, because you're not printing things or having different information that isn't lining up and having to call people and waste time and fill out new forms. So definitely having these updated, easy to use electronic health records is definitely a huge step in moving forward in lowering healthcare administration costs. So you mentioned that your passion is managing people, and this is actually something that's had a really taken up a large part of your career, whether it's Signature or previously. Can you talk about how previous jobs have contributed to your approach to work and your work ethic? Was there a turning point that sort of shaped your direction, or maybe pointed you in a direction that you wanted to go, like set your compass, so to speak?
So I've been in management for over 20 years now. I'm kind of dating myself with that statistic, and I've managed up to 200 people. So my previous jobs focused a lot on key performance indicators. That really helped me to understand what metrics needed to be taken to reach those desired outcomes. At other companies, so much time though was spent focusing on the metrics that some of the relationship building got pushed to the side. Coming on board with Signature, I realized that there needs to be a balance between connecting with people and hitting those metrics, understanding that Signature way and how the executive leadership team finds the balance changed the way that I interact more with my team. It made me more approachable and more caring leader versus just focusing just on those numbers.
Qualitative over the quantitative. So you mentioned in that answer that in previous positions, you've had to maybe push some of those personal relationships with clients to the side while you're focusing on sort of the performative metrics of everything. I actually wanted to ask you this a little bit earlier in the conversation, but this is a good time too. You are in communication with our direct clients on a pretty regular basis. Can you talk a little bit more about how you maintain client relationships, what kind of reporting they're looking for, like what you found works best for like a communication cadence or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have calls every 2 weeks with my client as it stands right now. In those calls, we go over all different kinds of metrics. We'll go over account aging because obviously the older the account is, the less likely it's going to pay. We're going to go through how many accounts we worked, what our quality looks like, our trends that we're seeing. And in between those calls that I have biweekly with them, we will communicate mostly through email or through the client's Teams chat just to keep that communication open. Anything that comes up in between those calls is addressed through email. If we need some quick conversation, we have no problems having those quick conversations. And then, just a little bit of that, getting to know them on a personal level in addition to just the business side of it helps too.
Yeah, I feel like those client relationships are really key. And I feel like definitely the way you're communicating with them and keeping them abreast of everything with the contract is definitely very important to maintaining these relationships. A sense of collaboration, you could say, in your role, like both managing people and having to report to a client. How do you approach collaboration and teamwork? And what do you find most rewarding being the bridge between a client and your team working for the client?
One of my strengths is I'm an includer, so I like to make sure that everybody knows there's a spot at the table for discussion, different tips on ways to improve, shortcuts to resolve claims faster. I really do enjoy finding new and better ways to do something. So it's looking for improvements, whether it's from the associates, whether the client gives me a tip on how to find something or do something better, whether it's just kind of digging around in the system. So just knowing that everybody can provide feedback and we can work to resolve things a little bit quicker.
I love that you utilize your strengths in what you do every day. I think that's a huge part of what Signature builds into our work culture. Just looking at your strengths, you mentioned includer. I also noticed you have achiever, a very, very popular one here at Signature Performance, but also you have that arranger and that strategic. I think all those self-assurance is there as well, but I think the strategic and the arranger, the achiever, to round out the top five are very valuable towards you succeeding in your role. Can you talk a little bit more about how you use your strengths?
Yeah, strategic is my number one. Again, I'm always looking for better ways to do something. Sometimes I see a path there and then I have to kind of lead my team down the direction I'm going. But I'm also not afraid to pivot and change with my arranger and includer we touched on already. An achiever, I don't want to not be successful. So whatever it takes to make everyone successful is my goal there.
That is a sentiment that is very popular here at Signature. I also love what you said about Arranger and the pivoting. We always joke with the Friends reference, pivot in regards to in regards to the couch, but it's true. Sometimes contracts change or like needs can change on the fly. So it's always good to be able to arrange a new path forward to make sure that everybody can be as successful as possible. Speaking of forks in the road and opportunities to offer a solution, can you share a recent problem or challenge you or your team has been tasked with and described how you tackled it?
We started a new facility who happens to be one of the top cancer facilities in the United States back in March. We needed to be both innovative and adaptable on this client to be successful. The business is slightly different than other facilities we've worked with. They have really high production goals and different nuances that we hadn't previously experienced. We needed to create some of our own processes while still following the process of the client. So we were able to tackle some of these challenges of this client by keeping open communication. We have a team chat where we ask questions. We have documentation on how to handle specific scenarios. And we reach out to the client with any observations or trends that we notice with different payers to help with some of that denial prevention. Communication, hard work, and teamwork is what's made us successful in doing this implementation.
And you really do have a really great collaborative, tight-knit team. That is something I can comment on as well. So that is awesome that you were able to sort of take this new kind of client and just sort of use your skills, but still, mold them to what the client needed and to sort of accomplish the things we haven't accomplished before. So that's awesome. What impact do you aspire to make within the organization and with the people you work directly with?
I want people to feel valued and know that they're important to me, the team, and the organization.
I love that. That's fantastic. And some of the stuff we've talked about today, we really are creating situations where hospitals and even the patients at those providers can more easily thrive. Can you maybe speak a little bit more about how you see your role positively affecting the world outside of Signature?
By helping our clients, we really allow them to free up some of those resources to support patients, research better treatment, create cures, and then save lives.
Realizing that the work we're doing actually does lead to lives being saved, I think is a really powerful anchor to connect on when really understanding what our roles accomplish here at Signature. Tiffany, I thought that was an absolutely fantastic answer on that. So, we've talked about quite a bit today. If I could just ask, what is one thing maybe we haven't talked about today that you would want people to know about your role or maybe just revenue cycle management in general?
The biggest thing people don't understand with the revenue cycle is how much work really goes in behind the scenes to make sure that everything flows smoothly and that from start to finish, from the time that a patient walks in the door to the time that they are at home healing, how much effort goes into that, from coding all the way to follow-up to getting the claim paid, making sure that they receive the best service from the hospital. I think there's a lot of behind the scenes things that people don't always understand.
Tiffany, I think you honed in on something really profound. Is like we are really smoothing out the back end of healthcare, which I don't think a lot of people are necessarily aware of outside of the I know I'm going to have to pay, I have paid, it has been paid. I mean, again, the pre-auths, the registration, making sure charge masters are accurate and all that stuff sort of gets handled. You break your arm, it's not just going to the hospital and getting a cast, giving your insurance card and leave. There's the 18 to 23 steps of the revenue wheel we talked about at the beginning of this interview that all have to be taken care of. And Signature, I think, really takes that role seriously and making sure that everything is as smooth as possible, because the smoother it is, hopefully the less it actually ends up costing on the back end or in the margins for healthcare facilities and providers. So Tiffany, I really want to thank you again for sitting down with me today, talking a little bit more about your role, just what goes into being a revenue cycle manager and how managing that team and working with some of our clients really helps make healthcare better. Tiffany, thank you.
Thanks, Addison. It was great chatting with you today.
And it was great chatting with you as well. And we look forward to seeing who we're going on the job with next.